wonderful session. Extra Bahu Samichanam. And Happy New Year. Radhe Radhe and Dhanyavadah Punah Midama.
Samij,
Agram Saptahe Punam Midama.
pretty good.
Just before Navvadan Samay.
Yes.
Okay. So thank you so much for a wonderful session. Radhe Radhe. Good morning, good evening to everyone. Welcome to today's edition of Daily Wisdom from Bhagavad Gita. Today is a special day because after a long time, we are starting with chapter 5. Okay, today we are going to take chapter 5, shloka number 1. And we'll set the context for it and look forward to another fascinating, engaging discussion around the topic that we have. So let me share my screen and then we will get started. Be able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll get started with our opening prayers like we always do by invoking the blessings of God and Guru. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Par Brahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsuchanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagat Gurum Krishnam Vande Jagat Gurum. So Radhe Radhe, a very warm welcome to all of you. Let's get started. So we are on chapter 5, verse 1, but before that, we will get started with our soul soup segment, like we always do. So as part of this, we've been talking about the different nuggets we can employ in our life, which would take us closer to success, happiness, and fulfillment in life. That is essentially what we all are seeking. So last week, we spent a good amount of time talking about knowledge and wisdom. Yesterday, we introduced the concept that mere knowledge is not good enough. In addition, with knowledge, for us to take it to the next level or convert it into wisdom, we need discipline. And we spoke that discipline is the bridge between intention and accomplishment, inspiration and achievement, and furthermore, knowledge and practice. So this is where the significance of discipline is. Now, taking this further, in order for us to now, let's look at this thing. The most personal and social problems they arise or they center around our lack of self-control. I'm going to map it to discipline eventually. They are centered around lack of self-control. So whether it is an underachievement at school or procrastination or alcoholism or drug abuse, lack of exercise, unhealthy diet, rude behavior, explosive anger, etc. You name it, they are all connected to poor self-control. And willpower, it is in fact the lack of willpower correlates to almost all of iniquity that we are talking about, right? Such as addiction, vices, and uncontrolled tongue, lethargy, and sloth. And on the other hand, having an abundance of willpower enables us to practice discipline in life. So several studies, they have been conducted and by social scientists to isolate the personality traits that contribute most to success in any field of human endeavor. So if I were to plot a graph, right, X and Y axis, like we always do, and say what leads to success, and we were to the social scientists, as part of their observations or the experiments that they carried out, there are two key dimensions that lead to success. What are those two key dimensions or characteristics? This is self-control and intelligence. Okay, if you have these two, then it will lead to success. Now, these two qualities, they have a biggest correlation to accomplishment, and people who rank both in higher in intelligence and self-control, they have a higher chances of succeeding in any field of human endeavor. Now, you may contend that intelligence is mostly innate, right? That is a fact. Now, we've been given a level of intellect in this life, and there is only so much we can do to enhance it. However, the self-control aspect of it, which is related to the willpower, is something which is very much in our hand. It can be systematically acquired as well as enhanced. This is what we will continue to discuss. Now, people, unfortunately, they fall short of their, essential prerequisite for success when it comes to willpower. And when they're asked for their strengths, they name a lot of things. I have good kindness, bravery, honesty, even humility. But one of the areas they shy away from mentioning is self-control. Okay, this is something most of the people they find themselves falling short of, and it is the least selected value as well. Conversely, when they were asked to choose their failings, lack of willpower is the one which gets mostly picked, and it tops the list of weaknesses in everyone. So self-control is something which is very, very important for us to practice discipline. And of course, discipline is something that is needed for us to get closer to the success, happiness, and fulfillment in life, in no matter which field or which endeavor we are in. So we'll continue to build on this discussion, but for now, let's move on to our topic of our discussion, getting to Bhagavad Gita shloka for the day. So I'm going to recite it, and you're welcome to follow along. Arjun uvacha sannyasam karmanam Krishna punaryogam cha shansasi yachreya etayorekam tanme bruhi sunishchitam. Okay, we can take a few hands.
Radhe Radhe Shyamji, please go ahead.
Yeah. Radhe Radhe. Arjunuvacha sannyasam karmanam Krishna punaryogam cha shansisi yachreyetayorekam tanme bruhi sunishchitam. Radhe Radhe.
Very nice, Shyamji. Thank you. Let's take a few more hands.
Rahul ji, Radhe Radhe.
Arjun Uvacha Sannyasam Karmanam Krishna Punaryogam Cha Shansasi Yacheya Etyorekam Tanme Bruhi Sunishitam. Radhe Radhe.
Nice, Rahul. Thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Aparna ji, Radhe Radhe.
राधे राधे अर्जुन उवाच सन्न्यासं कर्मणां कृष्ण पुनर्योगं च शंससि यश्रेय एतयोरेकं तन्मे ब्रूहि सुनिश्चितम्. Thank you, Radhe Radhe.
Thank you. Okay, let's take the remaining hands real quick as well.
Sam ji, Radhe Radhe.
Samji.
Radhe Radhe. Arjun avacho sannyasam karmana Krishna punarayogena cha sansasi yasesh ityorekatan me bruhi sunishchitam. Radhe Radhe.
Etayorekam tanme bruhi sunishchitam. Thank you, Samji. Okay, let's take the remaining hands real quick.
Dinesh ji, Radhe Radhe.
Dinesh.
अर्जुन उवाच सन्न्यासं कर्मणां कृष्ण पुनर्योगं च संससे यच्छेययेतयोरेकं तन्मे ब्रूहि सुनिश्चितं. राधे राधे.
Very nice. Thank you.
Tagi ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe. Thank you. Arjun Vacha Sanyasam Karmanam Krishna Punaryogam cha sanshasi Yachreya etayorekam Tanme bruhi sunischitam.
Very nice, thank you. Last two hands. Priyaji.
राधे राधे रिया जी.
राधे राधे. अर्जुन उवाच सन्न्यासं कर्मणां कृष्ण पुनर्योगं च संशसि यच्छ्रेय एतयोरेकं तन्मे ब्रूहि सुनिश्चितम्.
Right.
राधे राधे.
Yes, Sandhya ji and Sandhya. Go ahead, please. You can do a duet or maybe one at a time. Go ahead, Sandhya ji.
राधे राधे संध्या जी.
1 second, something happened here. I'm sorry.
Something happened.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Please go ahead.
Sanyasam karmanam krishnam punaryogam cha samsasi yachreya etayorekam tanme bruhi sunaschitam. Thank you.
Sandhya, go ahead.
अर्जुन उवाच सन्न्यासं कर्मणां कृष्ण पुनर्योगं च शंससि यच्छ्रेय एतयोरेकं तन्मे ब्रूहि सुनिश्चितम्.
Okay, last hand for the day. Go ahead, Sri Ramya. We'll freeze the
राधे
hand.
राधे श्री रम्या जी.
राधे राधे. अर्जुन उवाच सन्न्यासं कर्मणं कृष्ण पुनर्योगं च शंससि यच्छ्रेय एतयोरेकं तन्मे ब्रूहि सुनिश्चितम्.
Great, thank you so much. So let's get started. In this, Arjun is asking, "Oh Shri Krishna." Now, if you remember, we'll go into that, the sequence of, the dialogue which has unfolded between Lord Krishna and Arjun. Sometimes when you get into the thick of discussion, we lose the context. Hey, by the way, where out of the blue Arjun is asking this question, right? So we'll establish that link today. So he's asking, "Oh Shri Krishna, you praised Karam Sannyas." See, Arjun is a very attentive listener. He's getting it as well, what Lord Krishna is saying. And he's able to map it very quickly. What he's telling, not only map it, understand it, but clarify it immediately as well. We may lose the context on what he asked, why he asked, but he's very clear about what he's asking. And then the moment Lord Krishna is giving him instructions, he's able to reconcile it fairly quickly and pose the next question to clarify on our behalf for himself as well, because Lord has planted that seed in his head. So what he's asking is, "Oh Shri Krishna, you praised Karam Sannyas, the path of renunciation of actions. And you also advised to do Karam Yoga, work with devotion, both Lord Krishna has mentioned so far, thus far. Please tell me decisively which of the two is more beneficial." Now he's asking a very pointed, point blank question to Lord Krishna. Tell me Karam Yoga or Karam Sannyas, right? This is a very, very important question, and we are going to spend a good amount of time on this particular concept because it's important we understand it to the core. Okay? We will really get deep into this concept, and we'll go very systematically, step by step into it by understanding the different layers at which it operates. Okay. Now he's asking, tell me, Karam Yoga is better or Karam Sannyas is better? Very clearly he's asking that. So let's get started on this Karam Yoga or Karam Sannyas. Okay. So Karam Yoga and Karam Sannyas is what we're going to talk about. Now you have Karam Yoga on one hand, and then we have Karam Sannyas on another hand, right? As you can see. No. So the question that comes up is, right, on one hand, you have to perform an action, devotion. On the other hand, you have to retire from that action. Okay, and devote that action to a particular activity alone. We'll go into the more detail of it as well. The question comes, are these two activities mutually exclusive or different? Okay, I can see some heads shaking already. Okay, that's not the end of the question. Or are these same? Or is there an overlap between the two? or which of the two is better and more beneficial? Okay, these are the questions we'll try to tackle through these discussions as these discussions will unfold. Anybody who thinks these are mutually exclusive or different? Which one, if you were to pick an option, anybody, you can put in chat window as well. I mean, your responses, if it is open, we can read it out. Which one would you pick? Or maybe multiple options. So it's one of those multi-select questions that we have in our Kahoot, right? Are they mutually exclusive? Are these same? Is there an overlap? Which of the two is better or more beneficial? All these questions are very systematically tackled by Lord Krishna. Anybody who wants to take a shot at it?
Shri Ramya ji has put in the chat overlap.
Okay, overlap, yes. I think there is an overlap. So if you ask, are these mutually exclusive? Yes and no. Are these same? Yes and no. Is there overlap between the two? Yes. Which one of two is better and more beneficial? Lord Krishna is answering, okay, and he's saying Karam Yoga. We will talk about it, why it is more beneficial. Okay, now this is the fifth of Arjun 16 questions. Arjun had 16 questions, right? If you remember the shloka that we did, the Sthit Pragya, what are the symptom of a person who's Sthit Pragya? So he's posed some 16 questions in that particular thing. So this is the fifth of those questions. He's asking, Lord Krishna is praising both the renunciation of work and work with devotion. Now, if you have forgotten the context, I will refresh that, the concept around Karam Yoga and Karam Sannyas and how he touched it in the previous verses. Now, Arjun is apparently confused. He's a little befuddled. Okay, and he's confused around on our behalf because we get confused as well with these instructions. Karam Yoga, Karam Sannyas, which is better? Is it linear, sequential kind of a progression that we all have and stuff like that? So we'll go deeply into that topic. And he wants to understand which one of the two is more auspicious for him. Let us review the context. So let's get started by reviewing the context of the question. So we'll do a quick recap of what is leading to this particular question and then get deeper into it as well. Right? So now what is essentially going on here is Lord Krishna has told Arjun, fight the war. Okay, he's telling him to fight the war. We'll do the recap and then you'll see where he's asking him to fight the war. But at the same time, he's saying, but don't fight the war. Okay, fight the war, but don't fight the war. So fight the war and yet don't fight the war. This is essentially what he's telling him. And no wonder he's getting confused, right? Because Karma Yoga and Karma Sannyas is coming. So fight or not fight is the dilemma Arjun is having here, right? So which we will try to resolve what Lord Krishna is telling him. So he's telling him, Arjun, fight the war. And then he's telling him, Arjun, fight the war, but don't fight the war. Okay, how can both happen together? And that is essentially what Buddhi Yoga or the science of work is for all of us, which we will delve deep into today. Okay. So let's go further. So chapter 1, it was Arjun Vishad Yoga. If you remember Arjun Vishad Yoga, it all started with the doubt or that lamentation that Arjun is expressing, that the bow is slipping out of my hand, my skin is burning, my mouth is becoming dry because I just don't seem to get myself to pick up and fight this battle. Right? This whole started with that lamentation or that doubt that surfaced in Arjun's mind. So they say there's usually a light at the end of a dark tunnel. So he has hit that dark tunnel. Now, as long as that light is not the train coming in your direction, right, you are good. And in this particular case, Lord Krishna is going to, shed that light on his intellect to dispel all the doubts that he's having. So let's have a quick recap of how it unfolded. So if you remember this chapter 1, the battlefield, the lines are drawn, the Kauravas and Pandavas, they are gathered on the battlefield. This was the mother of all the world wars that has ever taken place or will ever take place. Okay, this is what happened. How many Akshoni Senas were there? Unbelievable. It was kind of a super world war that had the battle lines were drawn. So they gathered on the battlefield. And then when they had gathered, Arjun said, all right, let me take stock of the situation. What's going on here? It's like a cricket batsman who, when he walks onto the field, he looks at, okay, who are placed where on the boundary field? How does the field look like? So he tells Krishna, can you please take me to the middle of the, just take me, my chariot between the two armies so that I can take a look at who I've gathered here and whom I have to fight this battle with. Just taking a stock of the situation. That's what he does in chapter 1, if you remember. And then when he sees what's going on, the next thing that happens is when Lord Krishna pulls the chariot between the two armies, then he sees his elders, his seniors, people with whom he had played. Tatshri, the grandsire Bhishma, he used to play in his lap and he used to adore him like anything. And when he sees them, then he sees his relatives, cousins, uncles, all the respectable people. Just imagine a large joint family that you have been brought up in, and all of a sudden your uncle and grandsire and everybody's there on the other side, right? That reality dawns on him. Oh my God, I'm going to fight them. And then he looks at his brothers, even though they are his adversaries, he says, I'm going to kill all of them. And then their wives and all the soldiers whose wives, they will be basically bereft of their husbands, and that kind of a calamity is going to befall upon them, and I'll become the reason for that. So all those doubts start cropping up in his head. And then he sees his guru also on the other side, with whom he had taken this whole archery or weaponry skills from. And then this dawns upon him, oh my God, what have I signed up for? Okay, and that is the hour when that doubt cripples him. And even though he's the one who has a lot of control on his mind and is one of the what do you call that, a very skilled warrior with a lot of self-control, but this guy falls on his knees. He goes weak in his knees at that moment, and Krishna has strategically chosen that situation, the battlefield, as the context to impart this divine message, to give us the message that there cannot be anything more stressful and troublesome for a human mind than the situation that Arjun is facing. Okay, he's been asked to perform a duty, that to fight against his own relative, and that too with a sense of no hatred. And then he has to overcome his material compassion as well, which he's feeling for them, that okay, I'm going to kill them. Okay, and I don't, and he's feeling that I don't want to take the blood of my relatives on my hand just for the sake of kingdom, like any human being would think, right? All of us, if we are in that situation, so what's the point of fighting this battle? I'll just let go of it. Okay, who wants to fight their own relatives? I mean, what's the big deal? And exactly that's what Arjun is saying. And then Krishna chooses that moment, and what happens is he's totally dejected. And he says, do I have to kill them? They are worthy of my worship. I don't want to kill them. And he said, even if I'm going to get a kingdom, I would rather not get this kingdom. I would live by begging. He's saying, I'm fine to live by begging. And he's saying, I don't even know whether it's worth winning this war or lose the war. And he's completely confused in that situation. And that's when he says, 2.7 is the inflection point in Bhagavad Gita, where he says, Shishyasteham Twam Prapannam. He said, he's very smart. Okay, in that sense, he says, okay, Shishyasteham. So Lord Krishna is not saying I'm your guru, but he's indirectly telling I'm your Shishya. So that means now you're guru, my guru. And Lord Krishna has to assume the position of his guru. So when he says, I'm your Shishya, I'm your disciple, that means Lord Krishna has to become his guru at that moment, right? Ye yatha mam prapadyante tans tathaiv bhajamyam. God's rule is that all right, I have to reciprocate. Now you are coming in. Tvam prapannam. Prapannam means I'm surrendering to your lotus feet at this point. You give me guidance. And when somebody surrenders, he has to reciprocate. He has no choice but to reciprocate. That is one of the divine laws. Okay. Even in Ramayana, when somebody surrenders to him, he has to take care of him. He did that to Vibhishan. And then when he sent Angad as a messenger, peace messenger to Lanka, he was inquired by, I believe, Bali or someone, that what if Ravan surrenders now? Now you are again making a last ditch effort to make peace with that demon. What if he surrenders now? He said, if he surrenders, I have to, accept him. That's my rule. He said, what are you going to do? You have already promised the kingdom of Lanka to Vibhishan. What are you going to do? What are you going to offer to him now? You can't double dip. Okay, I'm going to give the kingdom to you and you as well. He said, yeah, I understand that. I'm going to give him Ayodhya because that still belongs to me after 14 years. So that much God is willing to stretch when somebody surrenders to him. Okay, that's his rule. So in this case, of course, Krishna accepts, takes on the role of his guru, and that's the prayer we do at the beginning of our session as well. Krishnam Vande Jagat Gurum. And Arjun takes the shelter of the Lord. Okay, so this is the context. Now, moving on, then we get into chapter 2. Now, Krishna is saying, okay, you are saying you're going to kill people. Now, let me get into, give you the basics of who you are. Let me refresh you or remind you who you are. And that is why this chapter is called Sankhya Yoga, which is the analytical understanding. So we are all of analytical mindset, right? So analytics means understanding things objectively, okay, by rationalizing it and discriminating between the different entities. And that is where Lord Krishna says science of the self. Buddhi, basically, it's a Sankhya Yoga where he tells him, this is who you are. You see the shiny thing, glittery thing within? Yeah, I like this animation, by the way. So this is who we are, not this body. So the second chapter, Lord Krishna is revealing to Arjun the science of self. And since the soul is immortal, he's saying soul is immortal. Who are you who are you thinking about slaying or killing anybody? Nobody is going to die anywhere, and it was foolish to lament in this case. So he said, first of all, understand soul does not die at all. So he's telling him the true identity, making him understand that it is not the body. What you are talking about is at a bodily level, which is, even though you are talking the words of wisdom, you're assuming to talk the words of wisdom, but what you're talking is very foolish. Lord Krishna tells him that. That's a very dramatic statement he makes, by the way. And then he expounds on the science of Karma Yoga to him. He says that, what, you fight the war. He's telling him, he's giving him the instruction to fight the war because he's on the side of righteousness. But the fruits of action, they can have two outcomes. If you are doing it for your own self, then it is going to be binding because it is for your ego, for your own self, right? But if you do it for the sake of, for the pleasure of God, you dedicate it to God, it is called Karma Yoga. And then he reminded him, you are a warrior and you have to fight the war. If you fight the war, the it is basically as a matter of duty, it is a karam. But that will bind you, basically, karam binds you to the fruits of action. He's telling him that for you to overcome that, you need to dedicate it to God himself, right? So that's where he starts explaining him the deeper science of work. First of all, it's a call to action. He tells him that, okay, what you are saying does not hold much water, okay, because the soul does not die. Secondly, as a warrior, as a kshatriya, it's your right to fight. It's obligatory on you to fight as a matter of duty. But when you do it as a matter of duty, in order for you not to have a binding karma, you need to dedicate it to God. That is what he's trying to explain him, okay, which is essentially what Karma Yoga is. So let's understand it a little deeper, because even though we hear it, it may not make sense unless we break it down to the fundamental level. So not fighting the war. Now let's look at the options here. Arjun starts with the option of, or proposing that he is not going to fight the war. So that is one option, not fighting the war. The second option is fighting the war, which Lord Krishna is asking him to do, which is a call to action from Lord Krishna's side. He's beckoning him to fight the war. Now, when you fight the war, you would fight the war for your self-interest, right? That's one option that is created. That is the second option. You fight the war for self-interest. Then the second one is you fight the war as a matter of duty. And then the fourth option is you fight the war as a matter of duty plus for the pleasure of God. Now, what happens in each one of these? Not fighting the war, it becomes vikaram, bad karma. Okay. If you fight the war for self-interest, it becomes karam, simple karam. If you fight the war as a matter of duty, it is still a karam. Now, what is the difference between second and third? It is a karam, but depending upon your self-interest, whether it is tamasic, rajasic, or sattvic, accordingly, it is a binding karma, right? You could have a tamasic karam. Why? What kind of a tamasic karam? Tamasic karma could be you are fighting the war for self-interest, and the interest is hatred, vengeance, bitterness, right? In that case, you'll get a tamasic result. It's a binding regardless. If you're doing it for swelling your pride, your prestige, or something to that effect, then you will get a rajasic result. And if you are doing it because you're doing it as a matter of duty, which will fall into the third category now, then you get into the sattvic. In all the three cases, it is a karma. So second and third, the difference would be the second would be probably rajasic and tamasic, and the third one would be more on the sattvic side as a matter of duty, purely as a duty because you're defending your country. That's what you need to do. That's pretty much it. The fourth one changes the dynamics completely. It is called akaram or the karam yoga. Now, if we look at the all three, the first three, they are all binding karma. We spoke about it, it's binding karma. And in fact, I've given an example in the previous one, right? When Guru Gobind Singh was fighting a battle with a soldier, just when that soldier, I mean, after fighting for a while, that soldier was at his mercy. And when he was about to kill him, the soldier lost his sword and he was about to kill him. Then this soldier spit back at him. When he spit back at him, he left his sword and left him. He did not kill him. So when he was inquired why did you not kill him when he was at your mercy, he said, previously I was fighting him as a matter of duty. But when he spit back at him, all of a sudden my mind got enraged with anger and bitterness. And if I had killed him in that consciousness, I would incur a sin. So he had that understanding. So the point here is when we do it, if we don't fight a war, we are anyway turning our back towards our duty, which is called vikaram. So that is just not recommended. Inaction is strongly condemned by Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. So Bhagavad Gita is a call to action. Within action also, if you are performing it with a motive of self-interest, or even so self-interest, it is a binding karma. Even if you do it as a matter of duty, it is still binding karma, a better binding karma, because you're getting sattvic result. But only when you do it as a matter of duty for the pleasure of God, it is called non-binding karma. And this is exactly what Lord Krishna is saying, fight the war and yet not fighting the war. When you fight the war, although you are fighting the war, you are engaged in that activity, but you are doing it for the pleasure of God. Pleasure of God means you're offering the fruit to the God. You're not doing it motivated by any self-interest. That's when technically, even though you're fighting the war, you have really not fought the war. In God's books, it does not count as any karma at all. Okay, so that is where you reconcile both of these things. Yes, Srirama, you had a question?
Radhe Radhe Shri Ramya ji.
Yes, Radhe Radhe. Sorry to ask, this is a repeat question, but the third row, if one is doing as a matter of duty, then it is not being done for the ego. Is it still binding, or is it, if it is binding, is it less binding than the previous one? Because I don't know if that will bring pleasure to God. So for now, I'm doing my work just as a matter of duty. So how to handle this situation?
Yes, so let's get into that. Glad you brought that point up. So let's map it to a real life situation. Not fighting the war. Okay. Then fighting the war for self-interest as a matter of duty and as a matter of duty for the pleasure of God, right? Fighting the war, not fight, it's running away from worldly responsibilities. Okay. You run away from worldly responsibility. Oh my God, it's so much of headache dealing with family, relatives, boss, and everything. I'm going to run away, go to Himalayas or go to an ashram and do that. That is called not fighting the war. Let's map it to the real life situation now. Okay, what we do. So any responsibility, we might be an IT professional, we might be a doctor, lawyer, homemaker, whatever profession we are in. If we simply run away from it, finding it troublesome and burdensome for our mind, it is equal to what Arjun is saying, not fighting the war. Okay. It will incur sin. Very simple. It will incur sin. See, this discussion will build it from step by step, leading up to the Karam Yoga, Karam Sannyas aspect of it. And by the end of these 2 or 3 discussion sessions that we will have, it will be absolutely clear to you. Each concept will map each other and we'll be able to make that matrix. So first is, if you don't do your prescribed duties, the situation that you are in right now as a professional, in regardless of which profession you are in, or you are a homemaker or whatever you're doing, you're simply running away from your worldly responsibilities. It is a karam or a sin. Now, you could be doing things for self-interest, right? Like for example, if you're working in your office, or let's say you're working as a businessman, but your motivation is greed. Let me make more money, or envy. Let me get better with somebody. You don't like them. You've created a competition for yourself, right? Like we do that sometimes. We are driving on the road and we start racing with somebody, and other person is not even aware of it, right? Those kind of envy we create all for ourselves, or we are doing it for as a matter of prestige, just to swell our ego, or we are doing it for our sensory gratification. I want to do that so that I feel good, I can earn more, I can enjoy a vacation and stuff like that. That means your motivation towards that work that you are doing is born out of one of these things. It will have binding result. It is a binding karma. Now, binding, again, it could be rajas or tamas, depending upon what kind of motivation you bring to the table, right? If it is your prestige and stuff like that, of course you'll get rajasic results, sensory gratification and stuff like that. But if it is stemming from some kind of a negative emotion like envy, bitterness and stuff like that, you'll have tamasic results. The third one is Shriramya, what you asked about, right? Fighting the war is a matter of duty. Let's say you do your stuff motivated by a higher purpose than self-interest alone. You're doing it because you want to support your family. You're doing it because you want to justify your paycheck. You're doing it because you want to enhance your skills. There is still a sense of ego there. The sense of doership is there, right? You are not doing it with relinquishing or giving up the sense of pride in that situation. Okay, you cannot say that. You cannot absolve that. You cannot say, I don't have that. You just cannot. You cannot conquer sattva just like that. So even though it is aligned to a higher purpose, not limited to your own self, like let's say the soldier is fighting a war for the sake of his country. All he has in mind is to protect his country, nothing more than that. That will fall into this third category of doing it with a sense of duty. Okay, that will give what kind of results? Sattvic results. What do we get when we do sattvic deeds? Primarily, we accrue meritorious deeds, and as a result, God gives us a better life in next life in form of maybe we go to Gandharv Lok, maybe we go to celestial abode, maybe we become Indra, maybe we become Brahma. We don't know, but we will get a better life. But what happens after that? That becomes a bhog yoni. You cannot do a purusharth. It's like you've got a certain account. The day it is exhausted, you're again back to 8.4 million species. So that sattva, the fruit of sattva, is temporary. It is not something that has taken you closer to God. So that is the limiting factor when we do it as a matter of duty alone. That is what Arjun is saying. Krishna tells Arjun, Arjun, go and fight the war. Arjun said, all right, point taken. He said, you know why? Because if you fight the war, either you will win the war or you will die in the war. If you win the war, you will enjoy the kingdom. And if you lose the war or you die in the process, you'll go to celestial abodes, because Virgati, they said people who get killed as serving their country or fighting for their country or their motherland, they go to celestial abodes. It's Virgati, they call it. So Arjun said, as a king, I know there is no permanent pleasure. There's a lot of stress, ruling a kingdom, and it's not a perpetual bliss one can enjoy, even if somebody is an emperor of the world. So Krishna says, yeah. And then he said, if I go to celestial abodes, and when the punya phalik kshin is exhausted, then again I come back. So what's the point? So Arjun is challenging that as well. He said, you are telling me I have laddus in both my hands, but the point is, either laddu is not satiating. It is a temporary laddu. So this is what the third category, Sri Ramya, is. If we do it as a matter of duty only, at best we can go to sattva. And what will happen is we can enjoy a better, more comfortable, luxurious life in celestial abodes, in Swarglok. But that Swarglok is not a very smart strategy. As a devotee, you reject that as well, because it is again in bhukti. Bhukti means enjoyment, some kind of a better life, which is again temporary, because once it is over, your punya is over, you are again back. That is why you don't have a plan. Actually, if you think about it, it's just a matter of time before you start thinking about the fourth option, because Otherwise, we will keep rotating in 8.4 million. And that's essentially what we have been doing all along. Only when you do it as a matter of duty, that is, of course, needed for the pleasure of God, which is motivated by higher purpose and a deeper understanding of self and relationship with God. You understand what is a deeper aspect of it. See, even in the third option, you are still operating at a bodily level. I am doing it. And you are having that doership you are not able to give up. Who are you doing it for? End of the day, yourself only. You may say, no, I'm doing it for my family and all. No, you're still doing it for yourself because you're silently patting yourself. I'm doing it. So you're not able to get rid of that I. And God says, fine, it is good. So let me give you good results for that, but not beyond good, which is Shuddha Sattva, right? That you will not get unless you do it with the sense that I have to do it because eventually I am a soul, and as a soul, I am an eternal servant of God. So anything that I do for His pleasure would be pleasing to Him. And anyways, whatever skills that He has given me, if I can put it to best use, that is the best utilization of my skill, or as an eternal part of God as well. When you are motivated with that sense, then you are actually subscribing to the principle of Karma Yoga or not. But unless you do that, we are still playing in Sattva Rajas Tamas game only. Okay, so that higher purpose comes with a deeper understanding than analytical Sankhya Yoga. That is where Lord Krishna is explaining. First, understand who you are. You're not this body. You are the much deeper, you are the soul aspect of it. And then what is your relationship with God? When you understand that principle, then doing our work with a sense of higher purpose, and that higher purpose goes beyond our relatives, friends, family, and our own self to God. That's where it takes us closer to Arjun. I hope it makes sense. Yeah, so we can at best go to Sattva, but somehow we have to bring God into the mix. If that equation is not completed, Karma Yoga equation is not completed unless we bring God into the mix. And that's where I keep on saying, in other traditions, the buck stops at being good. But Bhagavad Gita tells that being good is good, but not good enough. If you are going to go past the cycle of life and death, you have to go even beyond goodness, because goodness is also binding. That will give you temporary results, but those results will not take you across the ocean of life and death, or rebirth, so to say. Yes.
So I had a technical question regarding vikarm and karm in the context of tamasic motivation.
Yeah, so Vikaram is strongly condemned where you don't do any action at all, right? It will take you to hellish abode. Tamasic deeds will also take you to hellish abodes. Now, will it take me to, it's like choosing between bad and worse. I don't know which one is badder than the worse or worser than the bad, okay? But Tamasic and Vikaram both are bad. Which one is more bad? I don't know. Inaction is strongly condemned, but of course, Tamasic things will also take you to hellish abodes. If
Right.
you
So I mean, it was more like, will that also not be called as vikarm if anything is motivated by tamasic intention?
bordering on Vikaram, or you can call it Vikaram as well. Yeah, it's a
Okay.
bad karma, basically. Yeah.
Okay. And there is a question in the chat as well. Gaur Seva and Gaur Raksha will come in category of Sattvic karma or Akarma?
Gaur Seva, see, if you're doing Gaur Seva, thinking I'm doing it, how great I am, silently building that pride or patting yourself at the back, then it falls into the third category. But if you're doing Gaur Seva as, oh my God, that's, you know, basically God's creation only, and I'm getting this privilege and opportunity to serve a cow, or part of God's creation, and you relate it to God and not attribute that to yourself, then it becomes the fourth category. Really depends on the consciousness you bring to the table. See, this game is very interesting that God has created. He's not asking you to change the act. He said, continue performing what you're doing. Just the thought process. And you see, the thought process is all he's asking you to change. That that itself becomes challenging and difficult for us because of our conditioning. He's saying just change the thought process. And if you see, it's not like if you don't change the thought process, the outcome or something else will change. But our conditioned mind is not able to let go of that thought process. He's saying just change the thought process, nothing else. How subtle it is, how simple it is as well. And that will lead us into the discussion of Karam Yoga and Karam Sannyas as well. So I hope you are with me so far, what we had spoken about. Tomorrow we will build on the dharma aspect of it, right? We spoke about there are two kinds of things that we do, one through our mind, one through our senses and body. And tomorrow we will talk about dharma, and then we will get into uh, what is action, what is inaction, and then build, put it all together, the dharma aspect of it, the activity that we perform through mind, senses, and the consciousness that we bring to the table, all together we'll package it together for Karam Yoga and Karam Sanya, so that it becomes absolutely clear. How do we map all these concepts together? I see Jyoti ji raising hand after a long time. Yes, Jyoti ji, good to see you.
Radhe Radhe Jyoti ji.
Radhe Radhe Jyoti ji.
Yeah.
Sorry, Radhe Radhe, Sandhya ji, Nitin ji, and everybody. So the four options that you gave, Nitin ji, that translates in my mind to the karma ladder, where we have the karma being the bottom rung of the ladder, and the fourth being the akarm. But the second one is sakam karm, and the third is nishkam karm. And that makes the distinction where the second one is you are, say you build a hospital. If you build a hospital with the intention that you're going to make a large profit out of it, and you're not worried about the patient, you're just all worried about all the money that comes out of it, that is in the tamasic way. But if you build it because you want name and fame, that is rajasic. If you build it for the people and making sure that they get the care out of it, that is sakam karma. That is sattvic karma. So all three go into the second category. Nishkam karma where you just donate the money for the hospital and say, Tathastu, do whatever you want to do with it, and make sure that the hospital comes up. And that is Nishkam karma. The fourth one comes where, like, we are giving it to Swamiji to build the hospital in the name of God, so that Bhagwanji is the witness, and he takes care of the action, and we are attributing the action to God. So
Right.
we have Vikram, Sakam Karam, Nishkam Karam, and Akaram. And that's what I wanted to say. Thank you, Radhe
That
Radhe.
was a very good analogy and example. Very true. Building a temple or a hospital, I think that's a good example, where if we are building it to convert our black money into white, it's a tamasic karam. If we are building it and putting marbles with our names and Swargiya this, that, and then putting our son's name and saying it's Birla temple or what temple, it's not okay. Don't put me in trouble, okay? Because I said Birla here. But if you are doing it for the sake of our name and fame, it's a Rajasik Karam. And if you are simply doing it because we want to do it for the sake of people, and not even choosing to disclose our name, then it becomes Nishkam Karam in that case. If you have transcended Sattva, but when we do it for the pleasure of God, as a service to God, that thank you, God, for giving me this opportunity and choosing me as an instrument, or giving me this privilege to be able to do that, then it becomes Nirgun or Nirgun or Gunatit Karam in that case. So yeah, act as same. The consciousness that you bring to the table would dictate what kind of karma would it fall into, whether it is binding, super binding, less binding, or non-binding. So it could fall into any category out of this. Now, this analogy of not fighting the war, fighting the war for self-interest, fighting the war with as a matter of duty, in fighting the war as a matter of duty for the pleasure of God, you can map it to every situation in life, no matter what situation you are in, which profession you are in, and that would dictate, are we progressing towards more non-binding karma and adhering to the principles of surrender, or entrenching ourselves further in this material world. There is nothing in this world that we are performing will not fall into any of these four categories. Whatever we are doing will always fall into that, right? That is the practical utilization of the scenario that has been enacted by Arjun in this particular case. Yes, Ipshita ji.
Radhe Radhe, Ipshita ji.
Radhe Radhe. Achha, I have a question. Like for this karma, if a person who is spending that person's full day in sadhana, and suddenly someone in that person's family falls ill, okay, now that person have to take care of that particular ill person. So if that person thinks this way, that I am doing this to serve as Krishna's wish, he has given me this duty to perform, and I'm doing it for Krishna's happiness, so this will fall under which category? Will it be sattvic or nishkam?
If you're doing it for the sake of it's like a duty for God, anything that wherever you bring God into the mix, it starts falling into the fourth category. Right? If you are able to bring God into the mix, even when you take care of your kids or your family or your parents, and you do it as a matter of duty for the pleasure of God because you have been entrusted with that responsibility, you look at that big picture aspect of it, then you're falling into the fourth category. But if you're simply doing it with sense of attachment, okay, mine, they belong to me, or and oh my God, what will happen if I'm not, then you are falling into second or third categories. It could be any, it's subtle. But when we do it purely with a matter of duty as a service to God, because it's a responsibility, it's a duty, God is partnering with you to get something done. Always have that mind, right? Even when you have to raise kids, it's like God is partnering with you to bring forth nature. Or when you have to take care of somebody in your family, he's chosen you as his partner to get something done. You bring that consciousness, then it falls into the fourth category. But if we are doing it with some other sense of attachment, anxiety, anything else, then it is one of these categories.
Thank you. Thank you.
There's a question in the chat from Falguni ji. So channeling the thought process means we become alert or mindful. Is it enough to become mindful to change the nature of karma?
To become mindful is a good start. Right? Sakshi Bhav or witness consciousness is a great tool on the path of devotion, where you dissociate yourself with your mind and simply observe it. It's a great start. But having said that, you still have to exert your free will, right? You can observe yourself. See, when you simply start observing your own mind and your own self, that itself can bring about a lot of changes because you're not participating. You've just, brought in that kind of you've broken that synapses where we participate immediately. But having said that, you still have to exert your free will, in accordance with right knowledge. For example, you may be like that thief who was stealing. When he assumed witness consciousness, he said, "Oh my God, I'm stealing." But Garud Puran says, if I steal, I'll go to, whichever narc, I forgot the name of that. Now he got that knowledge. But after getting that knowledge, if he says, "Oh, never mind, let me continue stealing," or he can say, "No, I will not. Now I understand this knowledge, I will refrain from doing this act." So, yes, Sakshi Bhav or having mindfulness about what is happening is a good start. But then we have to supplement it with the next step of taking some action as well around it in accordance with right knowledge. That's when it will start changing our karma and our nature as well. I hope that answers your question.
I think so, yeah. Preeti ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. So you have an intention to do seva, but because of some health issues, you're not doing seva and you're feeling guilty about not doing seva. So you're constantly in the inner war, like, I want to do seva, but my health is not permitting, but I want to do seva. So that inner battle is going on. So how to solve that and what category that falls in? Just wondering.
So God, I mean, it's of course a bit nuanced answer to that, but then God looks at your mind, right? Where your mind is, right? And if you're unable to do that, it's not like, okay, I'm going to ding you because I wanted you to come to temple and do the seva or otherwise. And because of your health issues, I don't care. It's your problem. You had to somehow turn. God is not going to say that, right? So
No.
He's
Yeah.
privy to our most secret desires, and that's what we get credit for, right? If you're building that desire, If you are
Mm.
doing that vyakulta, like they say in Hindi, or that thing in yourself, I think there cannot be anything more auspicious than that. It is going to hold
Mhm.
you in good stead. Feeling guilty and falling into the trap of negative energy, I think we should avoid that. Right?
Mhm.
Right knowledge, because if you start getting into the abyss of negative energies, then one will attract another, the second will attract the third, and so you'll fall into a vicious cycle. In that, you bring the right knowledge. God is all merciful. He understands my deepest intentions and motives, right? If he so chooses to, he will enable me. But if he chooses me to have this situation, I will rather bear it and do mansi seva rather, right? So if you cannot do it, you got to be realistic about it. Don't fall into the trap of feeling guilty and stuff like that, because it's not pleasing to God if you feel guilty about and get into the trap of a negative, falling into negative energy as such. We should have faith in God.
And yeah, and also the about my like exercising, taking care of the body is part of the routine of part of the like if you think of it like okay, I'm doing it for the pleasure of God because with my healthy body I can serve God better. And that's like the category 4, right?
True. So either is one is you want to take care of your body so that so that you can serve God better or for a longer period of time, that falls into the 4 category. If you're doing it simply just so that you can look good and for your own sake or some other motive, then it could fall into any of the categories above. But when anything can be made devotional. Swami Vivekananda had said, right, nothing is secular, everything is devotional. So you have an opportunity to make everything. Even when you have food, it's like I want to nourish myself so that this vehicle that God has given me is taken care of, is nourished properly, so that I have longevity. I have longevity, no, not so that I can enjoy the marriage of my grandkids, but so that I can serve more, so that I'm prolonging, increasing the odds of, getting closer to God in this life itself. So when your motive so that is related to God, then it is already purifying. You're already falling into the 4th category. But if your motive is something related to self-interest, then it is binding. That's essentially what the message is.
Okay, actually, just to add one thing regarding seva, I mean, there is also this amazing thing that Swamiji has enabled, that there are so many kinds of seva that we can do depending upon our situation. So we can try to put best efforts in doing whatever is possible given wherever we are.
Yep. We don't have to physically turn up and do things. If we have physical limitations, we can do something sitting at home. If we have those limitations as well, we can do mansi bhakti. God has given us the most lot of freedom in that sense. And nobody stops us from doing mansi bhakti. Mansi bhakti means you serve God in your head only. In fact, I'll bring to the session, like I said, maybe I forgot today. You can even do your Tirth Yatra sitting at home itself, getting the same benefit. You don't have to do the physical drill around it. And that is where the knowledge, proper knowledge comes in handy. Uh, yeah. So God has made it easy for us in
God
whatever.
sees our
All he
efforts.
efforts and all he needs is a peace of our mind and nothing else. The only thing that God does not have, see, what is it that God doesn't have? He's permeated the entire universe, right? Every atom belongs to him, but there is still something that he doesn't have. What? The choice that he has given to us, the free will aspect of it, or the corner of our heart. And that is all he's asking for, right? He says, just offer your mind and buddhi to me. That's all. That is something he does not take control of until you offer and surrender it to him. Other than that, everything belongs to God. What is it that doesn't belong to him as such, right? Even when we give money to God, it's not like we are parting with our money. It's like a child taking money from his father to give back something to him. End of the day, it belongs to father only, right? So there's absolutely nothing in this world that doesn't belong to God. Only thing that he doesn't stake claim on is the peace of our mind, the mind and our free will, because he's given us a choice. And it's only when we have a choice, we are given a choice, we can choose to love. A robot cannot love because they are scripted. As humans, we have a choice, and that's where we can choose to love or not to love. And that's what God has given us. And he doesn't have that. He wants us to choose it for ourselves. Yes, Pratyusha.
Radhe Radhe Pratusha ji.
Radhe Radhe.
Sir, my question is like, isn't whenever we are doing some vikaram sakam karma, nishkam karma, we are actually in the path of progressing towards God, because while we are doing it, we do sometimes remember the God. But when our mind is actually, we keep doing it, and we get that knowledge, divine knowledge, then once that intellect becomes, okay, I have to go in this path, and then we are actually converting ourselves into a bhakti yogi, because yoga means attaching the mind to the God. So isn't it a path to become a bhakti yogi?
True, yoga itself is bhakti, right? Yoga means bhakti only, because whether it's karam yoga, gyan yoga, or bhakti yoga in itself, yoga means adding devotion to it, right? They say that it's like amrit. When you add amrit or to um, milk or to water, then the milk and water also becomes amrit, or to any drink for that matter. So the secret ingredient is yoga, or the devotion aspect of it. And without devotion, then, but yes, you said when we do karam yoga, actually it is a stepping stone for us to increase our devotion and surrender to God. Because we are bringing God into the mix, we are offering the fruits to God, and we are doing it as for His pleasure. So the remembrance would increase, the attachment, devotion, everything has to increase as a natural consequence of it. So yes, it's a
Oh,
stepping
wow.
stone. Yes, yeah.
In, like, say I'm just jumping into the sixth chapter. So in that, Krishna Bhagwan says that there is a karmi, there is a jnani, and there is a tapasvi. So in these three states, we can, it is like our state. We can be doing something with, some motive behind it, personal motive, or we can do it. That is why these are that, he says that yogi I consider as the highest, because then once we are in that state, we know that, yeah, what our aim, our goal is set, that is to going towards God.
True.
Isn't why that is why he says that yogi is highest?
That is right, because his mind is always absorbed in God, right? And that is why yogi is highest. And in fact, it is said, yoga yoga jnana jnana jih nahi ram prem pardhana. So end of the day, devotion has to be brought into the mix. Otherwise, that yoga basically will become kuyog, and gyan will become a gyan. Because if you're not bringing the remembrance or union with God in your mind into the mix, then it's a futile exercise. It can be just a mechanical drill at that point. So yes, yoga, devotion, remembrance of God, all that concepts, they keep on getting reinforced throughout Bhagavad Gita. Yat karoshi
So
yat,
we're
God says, right?
we're still hmm,
Sorry, go
we're
ahead.
still progressing. Whatever stage we are in, we're
True.
still progressing.
We are still progressing, and everybody is perfectly situated where they need to be. We have to go through our own trajectories. We can fast track it, but we are all perfectly situated. It's not like, oh my God, why is like, yeah, we have to go through certain lessons, we have to go through certain experiences, and it's our own personal journey. Now, if we get the benefit of getting a proper guru or good guidance, then we can use it as a catalyst to fast track it, but we are all are progressing. Maya will do its job. Everything is happening, and then we are progressing, and God has a faith on his own design that no matter where we are, gradually we will keep on progressing, and one day we will reach him, whenever it is going to be.
And
Great.
that divine knowledge will help, right?
Of course, that's the only boat we have in this vast ocean, right? We said that divine knowledge is like that boat in the vast ocean, and that's a boat that can help us navigate through this Bhavasagar and take us to the bank. Very true. Thank you, Pratusha. Yes, Monica ji.
Yes, Radhe Radhe Monica ji.
Radhe Radhe. Nitin ji, how else do we fast track it except Seva, Satsang, Sadhana and Guruji?
You're already on steroids. You want a bigger steroid now, huh?
I heard that word and I was like, what if I'm missing something? So let me just ask.
So how else can we do that is by doubling the dose. And if you fast track it further, then tripling the dose. So seva and satsang and sadhana, these are the fundamentals, right? Beyond that, there's nothing. So see, end of the day, they say that make the journey so beautiful that you don't care about the destination. So what are you going to do in the Golok? You're going to serve Krishna there as well, right? So when you've started serving it here, why bother and care about it? We'll continue in the same vein. We don't care basically. But yes, if you want to fast track it, of course, we have to increase our surrender, and that can happen when we intensify our sadhana, contemplation, and the seva bhav, right? So these are the things, these are the fundamentals. If cricketer goes out of form, they don't have to do anything drastic. They don't have to take a trip to moon to get back to form, right? Or to accelerate their progress. What do? They go to nets and practice. Similarly, our fundamentals is seva, satsang, and sadhana. There's nothing beyond that. You can intensify it or take it to the next level in your head or otherwise. So, but if you come across any other S, let me know. Okay, I would like to know that as well. If you get a crack code, as far as I know, Seva Satsang and Sadhana only. Madhu Chanda ji, good to see you. It was a pleasure meeting you at Banara, by the way.
Oh, let me unmute. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Madhu ji.
Radhe Radhe, Nitin ji and all. Glad I too met you.
I hope your son is doing good. He's pretty special. So it was good to meet him.
So nowadays I say, should I call Nitil uncle?
Yeah, please do. Anything that works. So
Yeah. Thank you.
yeah, good to meet you. Okay, so I know we have some announcements. We have an Antakshari coming up, so I'd strongly encourage you to participate in that. It's on Jan 13th on Maharajji's Bhajan. So form team, participate in that. That was one announcement. Wanted to make any other announcements before we get into, please fill out the feedback tracker. And we'll continue on this discussion tomorrow. We will talk about dharma, and then we'll get into which one is superior and why Lord Krishna is calling one of them superior as opposed to other, right? So we will continue on this discussion, and then Wednesday we are going to have a 3-year celebration. If you have not submitted your testimonials or videos, please do so. But I'm looking forward to that session where we'll reflect on our journey, fascinating journey that we have had for the past 3 years. Yeah, over to you. I wanted to announce a few other things as well. Yeah,
Yes. So one of the announcement is about this 21-day challenge in the new year. So the new year comes with new opportunities. And Monica Di was asking, right, how can we get closer to God? So this is the 21-day challenge with Swamiji that we all can take up on the brand new Radha Krishna Bhakti app, which offers us many, many things. Like you can listen to Swamiji, you can ask Swamiji directly in terms of the chat GPT, but it's pretty good. I have tried it myself for many questions. And then there are videos, audios, Bhagavad Gita at your fingertips. But most importantly, this 21-day challenge will also be available on the Radha Krishna Bhakti app. So all of us can register for free for this and see ourselves getting transformed in that process of 21 days. Get closer to God. That is actually the title of that challenge. So let's not miss out on this opportunity.
Yeah,
So
and if you do this 21-day challenge, there is a good possibility that we might lose half of our participants to Golok, okay? That was one of my concerns, when this was launched in RKT, even we'll lose half of our volunteers if they become God realized. But yeah, we can continue to operate as Jivan Mukt souls as well, so don't worry about it.
Okay. And other announcement Nitin you just made about Jagat Gurutam Divas. We have Antakshari of bhajans written by Maharaj Ji, which are full of Tattva Gyan. So we all should try and participate in this wonderful opportunity. Also, we have trivia, a quiz on Maharaj Ji's life and how he became Jagat Gurutam. And for that, we are also provided with resources. So, it's like you have everything. You have syllabus, textbook, everything, and you just have to read and come prepared for the trivia. And yes, day after tomorrow, we have our 3rd year celebrations. We have already received testimonials from many of you. And if anybody wants to do a creative short presentation on that day, it could be skit, act, anything, feel free to inform and fill in the feedback tracker so that can be planned. These are the major announcements, Nitinji.
Last year when we did our 2nd year celebrations, I think that was one of the best sessions we had, right? I mean, it was a pretty long session, but
amazing.
So I look forward to this year as well. It's a good milestone. So yes, Preeti ji.
Yes. Radhe Radhe Preeti ji. Yes.
Radhe Radhe. I went on the Radha Krishna Bhakti app and I didn't see the 21-day challenge. Is it on the, it's on the app?
I'm sending this link once again. So if you click on this link, it will take you to the website. And as soon as that website opens, the first thing that will come is the registration form for this challenge, where you just have to add
Oh,
your name, email ID, and phone number. That's it. And then you're registered for this challenge. And when the challenge will be released, whoever has the app, they will start getting the details.
I am there on JK Yog app, but
So don't
let's
just
see.
wait. It will, as when the challenge will start, it will come. So for those who have
Oh,
not,
not right now.
yeah, it hasn't yet started.
Yes.
Okay, okay, got it. Okay,
Preeti ji,
okay, thank you.
it will come in due course of time. You just need to have faith. It's a journey of faith, right? Even for this app. So please stay tuned on that. Okay, so are we good then? Are we good? Then we can do the Sumiran Karle. We can do the couple of lines chanting and then we can wrap it up. So if you have any questions that you want to discuss during the session, fill it out in the feedback tracker. We can try to bring it to the session tomorrow, day after. So let's bring it up, and then any volunteers for this? Today we're going to take 2 more lines. These are very deep and profound lines. We discuss a little bit and then recite it as well. Any volunteers? Yes, Rahul, go ahead. And then Sandhya, you can go as well. Go ahead, Rahul.
So should we recite that Sumiran Karle Mana also, or only those 2 lines?
It's your prerogative completely. I will how you want to do. It's your canvas. Go ahead.
सुमिरन कर ले मना, छिन छिन राधा रमना, तन सुख जग में मना, जीव सुख हरि में घना, जग सुख झूठा है मना, हरि में ही सुख अपना, सुमिरन कर ले मना, छिन छिन राधा रमना.
Very nice. Thank you. So this is very relevant to the discussion that we will continue to have as part of Karam Yoga and Karam Sannyas as well, and the Sankhya Yoga aspect of it, where we differentiate between body and the soul, right? The bliss that we are seeking, which direction are we seeking, and which is truly going to satiate or provide us the bliss that we've always been seeking. Yes, Aparna ji, go ahead. We can take 2 more hands. Riya ji and I think Sandhya, you wanted to sing as well. So please go ahead. We have a little bit of time.
Aparna ji, Radhe Radhe.
राधे राधे. सुमिरन कर ले मना, छिन छिन राधा रमन, तन सुख जग में मना, जीव सुख हरि में घना, जग सुख झूठा है मना, हरि में ही सुख अपना, सुमिरन कर ले मना, छिन छिन राधा रमना. Thank you.
Wonderful, very nice. Sumiran Karle Mana. So basically, it's asking us to remember. Whom is it asking? Our mind. So we have to direct our mind to remember this knowledge and this particular piece of knowledge, basically, that we're talking about. So we'll do a series on mind aspect of as well. You know, that similar to the series that we have started, we'll start one on the mind aspect of it as well after this one is done. Let's take Shyamji, then Riyaji, and then Sandhya, and then we'll wrap it up. We'll freeze it. Okay. 3
Yes,
more.
Radhe Radhe Shyam ji.
Radhe Radhe. Thank you so much. सुमिरन कर ले मना, छिन छिन राधा रमना, तन सुख जग में मना, जीव सुख हरि में घना, जग सुख झूठा है मना, हरि में ही सुख अपना। राधे राधे।
Radhe Radhe Shyamji, it's so good to see you sing. You made your debut finally in singing. I think you sang once before as well, but very nice. Thank you so much for that. Yes, Riyaji, go ahead, please.
Radhe Radhe.
Thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe.
सुमिरन कर ले मना, चिन चिन राधा रमना, तन सुख जग में मना, जीव सुख हरि में घना, जग सुख झूठा है मना, हरि में ही सुख अपना, सुमिरन कर ले मना, चिन चिन राधा रमना.
Very nice. Thank you, Riyaji. Go ahead, Sandhya. Last one for the day.
सुमिरन कर ले मना, छिन छिन राधा रमना, तन सुख जग में मना, जीव सुख हरि में घना, जग सुख झूठा है मना, हरि में ही सुख अपना, सुमिरन 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 कर ले मना, छिन छिन राधा रमणा. Yeah, done.
Very nice. Thank you. So these are beautiful lines. In fact, there's another line from Maharajji which says that Joi Swarth Pahichan Dhanya Soi. So basically what he says, the one who truly understands or is truly selfish is a Dhanya guy, is worthy of praise. Why? Because although we are selfish, but we have become selfish in the wrong realm, where the realm of body. And hence we have started seeking happiness from the world. This is essentially what this line is saying as well. So when we become truly selfish, we will understand our self-interest will get served by, because we are Jeev and not this body, by God only. Because He's the unlimited bliss that we are seeking. So great. So thank you again for a wonderful session. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. We'll continue on this discussion on 5.1. And also don't remember to come in full force for the 3-year celebrations that we're going to have on Wednesday. So which is Thursday morning at India. So Radhe Radhe, good night, good day from my side. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. Radhe Radhe. See you all tomorrow.
See you all.